Hi everyone, this is Diane with Owl's Treasures. I am making a charcoal and neem soap. I had a little audio problem, so I'm going to try a voiceover for this one. I'm now adding my lye. I have sea salt in the lye. Kaolin clay is already in the oils. I have olive, coconut, sunflower, castor, grapeseed, a little bit of shea, and some stearic acid. I like the stearic acid because it does help with hardness of the bars. I have neem powder that had been soaking in the olive oil already, so that was included. That's what's giving the brown color. This is a fluid hot process, so I don't have the crock in the base. The crock has already been heated with the oils. They were about 200 degrees. The lye was right around 200 degrees also. So the soap will cook from the heat of the oils, the crock, and the lye. So I'm mixing it to a heavy trace. The neem is really good for quite a few things. In relation to your skin. I like to take the hot process to a very thick trace. Just speeds it up a little bit. Doing it this way doesn't really burn out your mixer as much. Once it reaches heavy trace, I don't usually use the mixer again, um, unless it stays real runny in the applesauce stage. The neem powder comes from dried leaves that are ground up. Sometimes they use flowers and seeds as well as the fruit and bark, but most often it's the leaves. Now we're going to cover it and wait about 3 minutes or so. Sometimes it will take 5 minutes, but usually it's about 3 before it does something the first time. You can see it's real thick now. I am just stirring it to distribute the heat now. The neem tree is native to India. They use it a lot of different ways, both internally and externally. gets put into creams and pastes and ointments. You can apply neem oil directly to your skin. India considers it to be basically a wonder plant. That time it was covered about almost 5 minutes of cooking. You can see it's volcanoing, so I'm stirring it down and we'll let it cook some more. You can see I'm always scraping the sides because I don't want it to cook and dry. Want all your soap to stay nice and not get hard pieces in it. They say neem powder has bacterial properties, so it's supposed to be good for like acne and uh, skin that's prone to get pimples. Some people will make it into face packs. Supposedly, it helps with dark spots, blemishes, pigmented skin. This time it's covered for about another 5 minutes. It's coming along very nicely. You always want to stir your soap up so the heat gets redistributed. No part gets cooked too much. That time it was about 3 more minutes. I never leave this. I'm always within 1 or 2 steps where I can see in the crock. We're not going to get another volcano at this point, but you still always want to keep an eye on your soap. Don't let it go too long between stirrings. 3 to 5 minutes is usually about the max, at least for me. I don't like to overcook soap, so I prefer this method over leaving it in the crock pot with the crock pot on. I've never found that to be necessary. This is very similar to when I first started making soap. We used to do this on the stove, or you would start out with the hot lye melting your, at the time we used lard, so it would melt the lard before you'd pour in your liquid oil. Soap making has changed over the years, but not really as much as you would think. A lot of the colorants and fragrance oils and some of the, I call them newer oils, but you couldn't, get a lot of oils shipped to you and stuff like that. The internet has made things way easier. So when I first started making soap, you had access to lard and tallow, um, and vegetable oil. You didn't really have too many oils outside of that. You could use corn oil, but we never did. It's been another 3 minutes. Now I'm going to add the yogurt. You want to stir your yogurt in really well. If you don't and you have parts of the yogurt that's not mixed in really well, it can cook and become really nasty. So you just want to make sure it's well mixed in. I always do this by hand. Now I'm going to cover this and let it rest for 5 minutes. Technically you don't need to let it rest, but I think the soap ends up being a lot nicer. Now I'm going to add my sugar water. This helps loosen it up a little bit so it's nice and fluid. You can see it's nice and fluid now. It will pour very easily. Pretty much for this method you find what works for you. Everyone has their own way of doing it. This is just how I do it. Just making sure everything is stirred in very nicely. That's a little water that I held out from the original lye water. Will just help make it even more fluid for pouring. When I'm doing hot process, I don't discount the water very much. I do hold water out just in case. If the soap is fluid enough, then I won't add the water. But this just helps make a nice smoother bar. Now I'm going to separate out some soap to add activated charcoal to. Taking out about 1/3 of the soap. That's the activated charcoal. Just mixed a little bit of the soap in so it'll mix into the larger batch well. Soap makes a nice rich black when you add the charcoal to it. So you get a nice double tone between the neem and the charcoal. And it's almost ready to pour in the mold now. Still need to be careful. At this point the soap is still hot, but the crock itself is warm, so you don't really have to worry about burning yourself. The soap is hot at this point, but it does not burn me personally, so I don't worry about it at this point. But I would still be careful if it's your first time. You can see it pours very nicely. Just tamping it down, seeing if there's any air in there. Kind of leveling it. Scraping out the container. Never want to leave any soap behind, otherwise it just goes down the drain. Just leveling the top a little bit, making sure it's nice looking. Tamping it back down just to make sure there's no air bubbles. Tamped it a little too much that time. This will sit for 24 hours. Sometimes hot process can be cut sooner, but I still usually just wait the 24 hours. Right. We'll have the cutting video next. Alright, this is the activated charcoal and neem. Turned out really nice. Not the prettiest soap, but it is a very nice soap. Turned out really, really good. This has been sitting for 2 days. And it was, of course, hot process. Didn't really say much in the video because there's a lot of waiting time, 3 and 5 minutes while you're making it, so just kind of fast forwarded through most of it. This is an excellent soap for your face. It's good for healing the skin, acne, eczema, psoriasis, that kind of skin irritations, problems. This is a very nice soap to use for that. The neem is throughout everything. That's what gives it the brown color, and then the black is obviously the charcoal. Nice thing about the hot process is it only has to cure for 2 weeks. So I do like that a lot. Cold process is my favorite, but I like the hot process because you can get a soap done quickly for a customer. Because you don't always know when you're gonna get orders, and people don't always realize how long it takes to cure soap. Yep, not much off of that one. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos, then please subscribe. And if you'd like to be notified when I put more videos up, hit the little bell. And have a great day. Thank you for watching.